Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. This is a paid request from Bjorn. Thank you for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. Or they are wherever the info box is. But this is for Bohemian Rhapsody, the 2018 biopic on Freddie Mercury and the band Queen. That was a huge hit. I think it made almost $1 billion worldwide. Got a few Oscar nods. I think Rami Malek won Best Actor for his portrayal of Freddie Mercury. At first, it was being directed by Bryan Singer, and he directed a good chunk of it, but then he got... And there's different stories. He got fired because of his behavior, or because some personal matters. I don't know. Depending on who you ask, it's a different story. But someone else came in and finished the movie. And, I mean, it is the story of Queen, mostly Freddie Mercury. And it's one of those films that part of me wants to say is kind of in one ear, out the other. And what I mean by that is the info that we find out, or lack thereof. But I will say, watching it as a piece of entertainment, it's a decent watch. I did not hate the film. I thought I had a decent enough time watching this film. I think mainly because of the soundtrack by Queen. Queen is one of my favorite bands. I probably top 10. I probably would say Queen would be in my top 10. They just have too many good songs that I put them in the top 10. And Rami Malek, I thought, did a pretty good job playing Freddie Mercury. He definitely had the look, certain mannerisms, and definitely was the... Anytime he was on the screen, I would focus on him, and I thought he did a pretty damn decent job. So I did like him. I did like his performance. The camera work was very cinematic. Whether it be the opening shots with... We see Freddie Mercury in his place with a lot of cats, and he did prepare for Live Aid, and the move of the camera around on the stage, and moving around over here. There's another shot when they're on their American tour, and the camera's going through the bus and going out the back of the bus, and when it goes out the back of the bus without cutting, it keeps going, and we're now in this concert. And the fact that it transitions so smoothly from one to the other without cutting, I thought that was really cool to see. So it does have some good shots in there. For how long the film is, it moves at a pretty decent pace, so I wasn't too bored with it. And again, it's like, it helps that it has a hell of a soundtrack, whether it be Can Anybody Find Me Somebody to Love? Bohemian Rhapsody, Another One Bites the Dust, Radio Gaga, Who Wants to Live Forever. Killer Queen. But the thing of it is that while it was entertaining enough to watch on a visual and audio level, and it was interesting to see Rami Malek's interpretation, his performance of Freddie Mercury. I think what it is that as a biopic, I didn't feel like I learned anything. And for I understand, there's a lot of stuff in this that is inaccurate. Inaccurate as all hell. And of course, you could say a lot of biopics are the same way. And this is why I've said in the past, and I'll say it in the future, a part of me will go, well, what the hell is the point of a biopic? Because they're all full of it. They're all full of shit. Like, what's the point of watching it? Okay, the point is that you're hopefully somewhat entertained, because it is a movie. But at the same time, it's like, well, I could just listen to the soundtrack to be entertained by the music. And go, well, if you want that, watch a documentary. Well, maybe that'd be better to watch a documentary, because I did all the music, plus I get the real facts. And that's the kind of thing, like, what's the point of watching a biopic when you watch a documentary, and especially if a musician did all the great music, but then know what hopefully truly happened. Because again, pretty much every biopic has stuff that's wrong or stuff that's full of it. And then if you watch the biopic and then you think this and this and this, it's like, well, actually, no, that's not how it is. And trust me, there are some people, granted it's their fault because they need to do research, that will buy what's seen in a biopic and act as if that's the truth, when it's hell not the case. Was that the movie's fault? Well, granted, the person watches should do their own research, but at the same time, if the person's life is interesting enough to make a movie, then just make their life into a movie. You don't have to change stuff for dramatic effect. Because people could argue, well, this isn't a documentary. You could make entertainment and informative in the same frame, in the same format, in the same realm. You do know that too, right? And I would think Freddie Mercury and the band Queen would still make a pretty damn entertaining, interesting, fascinating movie. In fact, I would say even more so if you delve deeper into the psyche, delve deeper into the other band members, because the other band members, you barely know jack squat about Brian May or Roger Taylor. I mean, it's more about Freddie Mercury than the band Queen. Queen is just kind of there, the rest of the band, but it's more about Freddie Mercury. But even then, you get maybe the highlights, as you would call the greatest hits, but you don't really find much of any info that isn't surface level. 1970 meets Brian May and Roger Taylor. Their singer left. And I can't even say you learn because some of the information is wrong, so you're not even really learning anything. Because then it's like, well, I know this and this is wrong. For example, the band didn't really split up. They didn't go into Live Aid as a last resort. They had been doing stuff before. I don't think at this point, when he did Live Aid, he knew he had AIDS. And it's just like with all these other twists of the truth, well, if this and this and this is wrong, now I doubt the rest of the stuff you're telling me. How can I... Now I have to look into research and every other thing you mention in your biopic because this, and this is wrong. And again, that just comes to the fact of them, why the hell are we doing biopics in the first place? And to be honest, biopics are my favorite genre anyway. Documentaries, I think, are much better because there are entertaining documentaries, and you'd have all the music. The Greatest Night in Pop came out this year about We Are the World song. To me, that's it's a documentary, but it's one of my favorite movies of the year. Because that was very well done, and you had great music, but it's also fascinating, it's informative, and I just think that has more merit than a biopic. But again, that just is to the whole frame of mind of a biopic. Because again, okay, this is a story of Freddie Mercury. What the movie tells us is he meets these two, their singer left, he joins, they sell a van, they record an album, they go on a show, they play Killer Queen, he meets Mary, they get on an American tour. There was the executive played by Mike Myers, just to make a Wayne's World joke, where he goes, no one will bang their head to Bohemian Rhapsody, which of course, Wayne's World, they did bang their head to Bohemian Rhapsody. He's paying for the record. This is 1975. He thinks the song is too long, and it's also nonsensical. Queen wants it as their single. They fight against it. They release it. There's a touch of bad reviews, which that was interesting. That one bit of all, I did not know Bohemian Rhapsody had that many bad reviews. So that was interesting the way they show that. And of course, but it becomes a big hit. They become a worldwide sensation. And very kind of not to they almost kind of, you see that he has a bit of a Freddie Mercury, he's conflicted on his sexuality, which some people would argue, well, did he really have, was he really conflicted, or was he just thought, he just realized he wasn't straight, he was gay, and then more stuff to that. Again, I can't be too sure on that because the movie's told me other lies, so I don't know what else is a lie as well. And they go into a little bit of that lifestyle, but just surface level. He looks at a guy at a truck stop and he's curious. This guy that's with the band starts going on with him. He likes this waiter named Jim. But again, very surface level. You don't really get much into the depth, the soul, the inner constructs of Freddie Mercury, his thought process, his desires, his, that's the thing. They don't really go that deep into it. And that's why I think Rami Malek did the best he could, because it makes it seem as if there's a lot there, but when you look at it, there's not really a whole lot there depth-wise for him to play off of, other than, again, surface level that you just see in a number of other movies where maybe they're in love with one person, but they're truly in love with another person, or something else to that effect. Jump from 1970 to 1975 to 1980. They do a little bit of how they came up with We Will Rock You. The one guy, Paul, is putting a strain on the band. The manager gets fired. A little bit of how they came up with Another One Bites the Dust. Breakup, Live Aid. And then the last, 30 minutes is about Live Aid. And it's just one of those things where I'm sitting there going, isn't there more stuff to Freddie Mercury's life we could delve into? And I know it's a pretty long film, but at the same time, I'm sitting there going, okay, all of a sudden the band is named Queen. How did they get the name Queen? What made them change their band name to Queen? What was the thought of that? Freddie Mercury, that was not his name. It's just, someone goes, oh, your name's Mercury? Yes, it is. Okay, Mercury. But what made him think of that? What made him choose that? What was the journey on him first wanting a different name, then finding that name, the meaning, the significance of why he thought of that name, same with the band Queen, anything on the other band members, because if you were to quiz me on anything about any of the other band members, I would lose, because they never delve into anything of the band members. And no, of course, I knew they were not going to get into the movies they worked on, like they did music to, whether it be Flash Gordon or Highlander. Like, they were never going to go into that, because they view that as not as important to... Because again, it's more Freddie Mercury story, not Queen story. Just Queen is part of Freddie Mercury, so they're featured, but it's more of the Freddie Mercury story. And on the other side, that would have been interesting. Like, hey band, what were your first thoughts on hearing about doing music for this movie called Flash Gordon? That could have been a funny, entertaining, possibly s- side story, sort of a little, I would say a bump on the road because it's a great soundtrack, but kind of entertaining little stop on our journey, entertaining rest stop. What about this and what about that? You know, Princes of the Universe. You know, at the end of that, and maybe that's the thing. Maybe if there was a documentary where it featured more of that, maybe that could have been interesting. So that's what I mean. Like you watch it and you're sitting there going, if you know even a semblance of Queen, it's hitting like little high notes, and because the visual style is fairly competent, like the whole Live Aid sequence, where it does show as if there were thousands of people in the audience, and him playing the piano, and you see his reflection in the piano, and for dramatic effect, that's why they had it where he knew he had AIDS at this point, which again, excuse me if I'm wrong, before I understand, he did not know at this point. But they did that for the movie because he's seen this song about "Wish I was never born," about reflecting of his life, and you literally see a reflection of him on the piano, and the words seem much more true to the band and the people in the back that know a bit more about this, and him kind of contemplating this might be the last highlight of his life, but he's going to end it with a bang. So again, there's good shots and good camera work, decent lip syncing to the songs. Again, Rami Malek definitely looks the part. Again, I did not mind his acting. But again, you don't really, like I said, the even for how long the film is, it still feels like there's a lot missing. Like the bit with him and Jim, it's kind of, they have a little bit of it where they first meet, and then when he fires Paul, then he goes and meets Jim again, and then that's pretty much it. The band members, a little bit of "We Will Rock You," a little bit like, it just feels like it feels like a lot is missing, and that's what I mean. That's why it doesn't really leave as powerful of an impact on me that I think it could have. Now, whether maybe it would have worked better as a mini series instead of a movie, I don't know. Like I said, I don't think it was a bad watch at all. I had a decent time watching it again. But again, that's why when I first saw this, it felt like a in one ear out the other, because the visual and the music was satisfying enough, but then it didn't really, it didn't leave as much of an impact as the Oscar nods assume a movie of this would do. I don't know if that made sense. I don't know if that made sense. So, with that said, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later. Bye bye.